Hello again to all of you wonderful people to the next installment of my weekly series of Weird My Newsroom, which I believe is like episode 96. And of course, like always, this week we'll talk on all of the new releases of the week, some of the trailer highlights, and a variety of stories in this section of news. Let's get off to work we go and hopefully be a little more emotionally stable this week as we talk on all things media for another week.
Heigh Ho!
So the first of our new releases for the week is the film of this year that has seen a lot of controversy. Some of that at this point now feels a little over the top for a bit of it, or taken a little out of context. But there's a bit of a problem overall with some bits, with the newest return of the endless stream of films in the world of the live action remakes. And this time we go back to the original film that started it all for the studio, as after a bit of time and delays, we have finally gotten the release of the Disney live-action remake of Snow White. The film will tell the new take on the original story of Snow White, seen as the fairest in the land, escaping into the woods to avoid the tyranny of her evil stepmother, the Queen, from killing her and becoming the fairest herself. She soon comes across a cottage that is home to 7 dwarves to take her in and protect her from the harm, and in the basis of a new focus, we'll soon see her, the dwarves, and a group of bandits led by the charming Jonathan, returning to the kingdom and freeing it from the Queen's reign. Reception on this title has not been the most well received, but most of the mixed reception, as well praise has been given to the lead performance of Rachel Zegler, some elements of the adaptation, and on the music and songs of the movie, has been criticized for its uncanny CGI, its messy structure that feels like multiple stories at once, and for the performance of Gal Gadot as the evil queen. Bit of a staple that is questioned for her acting is how she ended up with a star on the Walk of Fame earlier this week, but I can see the case of this film not going to be for everyone and more for young kids, girls, and families more than anything. And if you want to check it out for yourself, you can catch this new film out now in cinemas. Our next release would be, I believe, one of the last films for the award seasons to come out this year, and one of the big winners that helped to bring some appeal and focus from one of the countries this was created in, and one I've been looking forward to watching myself. And we will see a small little cat going on quite an adventure, as we have finally gotten the release of the all-new animated film of Flow. The dialogue-free film follows Cat, a solitary animal whose home one day gets devastated by a great flood, but soon finds herself refuge on a boat populated by a various species, and will soon have to team up with them despite their differences. Reception on this title has become universally acclaimed, with praise to its animation, all done in a free animation program, its story even with no dialogue, and its mature themes and characters, and was a strong win and contender for an award animated films of last year and this year in particular. If you want to check it out for yourself, then you can catch this new film as well out now in cinemas. Our third film for the week, however, is not the only film to be released this week that stars the performance of one Rachel Zegler, as we have a new title coming to us from A24 with a film of a concept that we all feared back around 25 years ago, but this time being more of a threat, as we head to a new fear era of a new century with the new film of Y2K. The film follows 2 high school juniors who decide to crash a high school New Year's Eve party in 1999, but will soon find themselves fighting for their lives when the terror of Y2K becomes a reality and all the machines rise up against humanity. Reception on this one as well has seen a bit of a mixed appeal as well the concept and ambition is seen in the film itself and its performances. The film struggles a little in its tonal mix to provide much of a comedy material or of a coming of age story in there as well, but it could become one of those underrated gems in the future, and if you want to party like it's 1999, you can catch this new one film out now as well in cinemas. The last film of the week is another movie that brings us back to the realm of the gangster movies, one that provides the appeal of the mob and a return to an iconic actor playing a role that fits his iconic movies, but not just in one perspective, but rather two, as we have the all-new mob crime film of The Alto Knights. The film is set in 1950s New York and sees Robert De Niro play both notorious crime bosses Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, who vie for control of the city streets. Once the best of friends, petty jealousies and a series of betrayals place them on a deadly collision course that reshapes organized crime forever. Reception on this film as well this week has also been a bit of a mixed reception, as well the idea of De Niro playing off himself as some of the famous crime bosses of the past in concept, the execution feels a little lacking, could have had a lot more potential, but just been bogged down by cliche mob movie tropes. But if you want to check it out for yourself, you can catch this one for yourself as well, because it's also out in cinemas. The last of the new releases for this week is the only game that we have that I'm aware of, and one of the big releases of the year and for this week, and one of the most anticipated games, as we return to the past, the realm of the age-old battle between a secret organization and those that choose to take control in the open. As the age-old battle of the Assassins and Templars takes its place in a long requested time period, as we have the newest entry of the long-run series of Assassin's Creed Shadows. The new game will be set in the backdrop of the late 16th century feudal Japan, a setting that has been a fan-dominated area since the series' inception, and will see you take on the role of Naoi, a female shinobi, or an Anyasuke, an African samurai, as you restore peace and order to the lands against the tyranny of bloodshed of the Shinigami period, as well as the Templars. Reception on this title itself has seen some decently well-received reception, with many seeing it as a favourite and success of the series, with praise for its visuals and of its main playable characters, though some of the story elements and a feeling of lack of content in the game has seen a bit of a focus on the issues of the critiques and the critics, but has been the most successful of the entries in a long time. And if you want to play it for yourself, you can play it now on PS5, Xbox Series X and S and PC, with an iOS and Android port coming some point later this year or soon. But with all of that, that's all the new releases that we have for this week.
Hey Gilmore, you suck, you jackass.
So the first of the trailers for this week is bringing us to the realm of the fairways, the method of getting into swings in the right club for the shot, and when things seem a bit stressful, then it may be best to go to your happy place. As after nearly 30 years since they first swapped the ice ring for the fairways, he's back to prove that he still got it, as that we received the first trailer for the upcoming sequel to Happy Gilmore. Now the film will see Happy Gilmore make a return to the sport that the first stumbled into around 30 years ago, and looking to get back out onto the course. Things will not be as simple, as we will soon be dealing with his own anxieties, and all new professional golfers taking the stage, and a return of his old rival of Shooter McGavin. So it's a case that you can say that the likes of doing a sequel 30 years later from its original can be a bit of a mixed appeal that sometimes work and sometimes don't, but I feel they may have some appeal of the original, that for what it's worth is a good movie, and I feel that this could be something that people may enjoy. I'll give this a watch with interest in due time. We don't have to wait too long for this either, as we'll be hitting the fairways onto Netflix some point soon on July 25th. Now as for our second movie for this week is taking us deep into the realm of animation and also to the far reaches of space. As well the case we may call out and hope and find a response back, it seems the case someone did. And the one we send may not be the most qualified, but we'll try his best, as we head to the realm of Pixar for an all-new intergalactic adventure with their newest trailer for their new original title of Elio. The film will follow the titular character, an 11-year-old with an obsession with aliens and a very active imagination. So when he is beamed to the Communiverse, an interplanetary organization with representatives from galaxies far and wide, Elio is all in for an epic undertaking where he is mistaken as the leader and ambassador of Earth, form new bonds with eccentric alien life forms, and also navigate a crisis of intergalactic proportions. There's a case that people seem to give a case that Pixar has lost a lot of its appeal or edge in terms of its original projects, or just say that the company focuses on sequels. But I feel it's more the parent company pushing all these demands, and we can see that later on. But I still see the case this studio has an appeal and works very well in its focus on originals or sequels. I see this one having a very appealing visuals, have a main lead that can be relatable, and also seem to be a case they may be on the spectrum, and we can respect and appreciate them doing that, because I know people that I care about and love immensely who may be on the spectrum, but I still see them as being wonderfully amazing people, and show they truly are, especially one important person to me still. And the case, it gives me some classic Pixar vibes to it still, and I'm looking forward to checking this one out, and in case you don't have to wait too much longer for it, as the newest film will be making the call into cinemas from June 20th. And our final trailer for this week is the focus of returning to the world full of under-the-table assassinations, justice, fine-tailored suits, blood packs using many different everyday items to take someone down, and a case of guns. Lots of guns, as we return to the world of the Baba Yaga, but this time in the focus of another member of this world of assassins, as we received an all-new trailer for the upcoming spin-off film from the world of John Wick with Ballerina. The film will take place in between chapters 3 and 4 and focus on Eve Macaro, played by Ana de Armas, a ballerina assassin who trains under the assassin traditions of the Ruska Roma, and use these skills and expertise to hunt down those responsible for the death of her family, and with the help of a certain few familiar faces, including one Baba Yaga. So it's been quite a bit quiet on the end of this spin-off, as I've been interested in learning more about this movie, in the case of someone I know also being very excited and interested in this film as well. And seeing this more and more in focus and expanding out the world established by this franchise really appeals to me, as I've seen with every John Wick entry that they get better and better, and I feel this one will be no exception. And if the case, that hopefully we can still go to this one together too, the one that's also very excited for it. But I'm all for checking this one out real soon, as the film is not too far away now. I'll be hitting into cinemas from June 6th of this year. And with all that, that's all the trailers that we do have for this week.
I hate to be political, but relief! Coyote versus Acme!
So the first of the stories for this week have two little topics in focus that relate to an area of an art style of film and projects that have not been really overly seen in quite a long time. The news that we got from this week is a bit more of a positive and hopeful outcome in terms of its focus, but let's delve into what those topics are in particular. So the first one I'll be keeping it brief, but it seems that the story has been rumbling around since earlier this week that Disney has been considering to be going back to make some new films in their classic 2D animation style to revive the style and bring some appeal to their movies. The base on this does seem like a good idea, as I feel that, yeah, the free animated films can be good from them as well, but I would not like to see a return to that realm of their animation style that do so much more zaniness and elaborate aesthetics with compared to free animation. And I've seen the case that the appeal of the last project they had to being the Once Upon a Studio short that came out 2 years ago. As well, there was 3D characters in that short. It did consist of a lot of the classic 2D style characters in there as well, and I felt it was worth a return to this in particular. That brought them a lot of acclaim and appeal that became the massive animation studio they once were, like that started with Snow White and up to now. Now there is a little bit of a caveat about return to this, as they did recently just sell the Tiana series that was going to be 2D animated, so it's kind of going against the choices they want to do here, but maybe the series could be reworked into a film as they did with the Moana series and the recently released sequel last year, but hopefully there is a promise to it and we do see return to this animation realm real soon, so fingers crossed that we do. But speaking of elements of 2D animation, we go from Disney over to the studio that just seems to be against any type of animation at this point, as we are talking about Warner Bros., the franchise of characters that have been around for nearly 100 years, and another project film that has been a bit of a rollercoaster release, as we're talking on the Looney Tunes, and specifically a certain courtroom battle. So it's no stranger Warner Bros. Says they are the only true storytellers left in the industry, but I doubt that is an accurate statement, because as it seems they make so many dumb decisions and put those creative ideas in a vault and just do it for this greed of money, and we have seen it with other projects already, from the likes of the Batgirl movie, Scoob's Holiday Haunt, literally a good amount of Looney Tunes cartoons from their streaming service that just happened this week, and the focus of one that has been on the fence of confusion for release is with the film of Coyote vs. Acme. Since around November 2023, the topic of this live-action animated hybrid film has been unclear as it will be released, as it was discussed they were shelving it for tax write-off, and then some lawmakers called them out and nearly put them in their own lawsuit about it, and they have for the last few months been considering selling it to another production company, but they were being a little stingy in what they want from these companies. They were offering some strong and modest offers for it and caused all of it to basically quiet down for a little in terms of having a chance. But a new hope may have come along and could see this go to trial head after all this time. So Wednesday this week, some news have reported that Warner Bros. Is considering to sell the distribution rights of Coyote vs. Acme to Ketchup Entertainment, which makes the most sense as it was the studio that helped to release the recently and fully released 2D animated film in the US of Looney Tunes The Day the Earth Blew Up, which I'm still waiting for a release date confirmation over here, and seeing that it does well from word of mouth appeal and bringing hope back, and even got followed by Eric Bowser, the voice of Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, as well as Bugs and other characters, and it works well that we can see it get a release in the film in 2026 supposedly. Now at the moment it's not fully finalized, but I do hope we'll see a release and we'll get the love, the views, respect, and the film as well, and we'll show Warner in the process that their decisions have been really dumb decisions and can make the amends of not lose even more money, or get someone else at the head to make the better decisions, because their decisions so far the last few years have not been that great. But with all that, I'd like to know your thoughts about this. Would you be interested in seeing a return of 2D animation from Disney, and do you hope to see the Coyote vs. Acme releases, and will you go see it? Let me know what your thoughts are down below for that discussions, and we can talk about them there. But staying with Disney for this next story, we're not fully moving away from it just yet, as we return to the focus of the announcement of two projects that have a connection with a different culture again, with one being accidentally announced from an actor and another from the studio itself, but I'll talk about them now in this particular section. So our first one, we'll talk about the one that is getting a follow-up in terms of projects, was this Disney seems to really into the realm of successful films of recent memory getting sequels, as we're seeing with Frozen, Wreck-It Ralph, Moana, Frozen again, Zootopia, and a few other ones in that case. But it looks like we have another one join that list, as it was actually revealed by actor John Leguizamo that they're apparently making a sequel to Encanto. So it's a case that I've only actually watched this first one for the first time earlier this year, and I thought it was charming and had a good story to it with some issues, and I felt it worked as a contained story that I really don't know what they can really do to add to this. And that's the case to give some more of the other members of the casita a bit more of a focus, because it just really focused on Mirabel, the Abuela, Isabella, and Bruno and Louisa to an extent. So there's a few other members of the family that don't really have much to provide from the original, but maybe they could develop them more, add something to it that may appeal to a good story, and also get Lin-Manuel Miranda back to do the music for it or something. But as of right now, I do not know what they can do with it as a follow-up, but I'm sure we'll learn more about it in due time and whenever we get a release date for it in particular. But keeping to the culture, it's not the only film in the Latin American region or Mexico getting a follow-up, as this one was announced by the company that we are getting a sequel to the Disney Pixar movie of Coco on Thursday, with a focus of release aiming for 2029. Now, it's a case it's supposedly in the early stage of production, allegedly, what I've heard, but I feel the case this was a decision that was made by Disney for Pixar to make, but maybe I'm wrong, given that most of the original production team and director are coming back to do this follow-up, and besides that, we have no idea on the plot of this. It could be a case like an older Miguel returning back to Land of the Dead to rescue his kid from like the return of El Nestor de la Cruz, maybe trying to find the love of music again after giving up for so long to like care for his family or something, but it's made to speculate for the moment. I don't see the case the likes of follow-up for this doesn't seem necessary, as the original felt like a singular story that worked great on its own, but I have been surprised by Pixar with their originals and sequels, so it could be an appeal. It does feel a little bit underwhelming that they released a trailer for this new original a day before their announcement, and may affect that film's appeal, but I hope people will go to see that new movie when it does come out in June and show love for the originals as well as the sequels, but we can talk about that more time as this project comes along down the line, but I guess we'll see. What do you think about these two sequels that come from Disney? Do you see these working out, or do you see that they could have done some new stories for what Disney or Pixar films, or do you see them working better for a follow-up? Like, what Pixar or Disney movies do you see working out better as a sequel? Let me know what you think down below and we can discuss about them there as well. Our third story for the week is focused on the unusual array of some release date changes, as well as discussion of a new film announcement and a possible cancellation of a project as well, but we're going to get into those now in particular. So I'll start with the focus of the one that might be possibly cancelled. It seems that the deadly traps and wanting to play a game may not be on the cards, as there's been a bit of discussion that the planned 11th movie in the Saw franchise, which is projected for release this year, may have been cancelled. According to some insider sources, the film has had a bit of a script written and ready to go, but it's been down to internal squabble at Lionsgate that has seen it getting setbacks from initial September 2024 release to not start in production yet, or even a confirmation on the outcome of this script. The film is directed for release this September, but it may seem like it's too much of a stretch to see a release then, or even at all. Do I see it getting a release eventually? I don't know. Given the case that I feel maybe have a bit of a chance, given with this critical success of the last movie of Saw 10 and the decent box office as well, that it might come back in the future if production can resume or get started, but as of right now, it's unclear, and if any word comes up about it, I shall notify in a later episode in particular. Now on our release date changes, we have 3 movies that saw a slight change in their dates, which all come from Warner Bros. The first being the newest film from Paul Thomas Anderson that has a new title of One Battle After Another. Now the film got a small teaser confirming we're going to get the full trailer next week, but we also confirmed that it's going to get about a 2-month delay from August 8th to a September 26th release, which I can guess is for some slight fixings on production or something and everything else, but it could just be a little bit of a better chance for a box office or award season film, but I guess we can see about it over time and check out the trailer next week and maybe talk about the film and see what it's about. But seeing the film delayed caused a knock-on effect of another film from Warner Bros, and that is with the planned new film from Maggie Gyllenhaal, which of course is The Bride, again delayed from a September 26th release date this year, and now will be releasing a couple months later on March 6, 2026. Now I'd wonder if we were going to see any footage or trailers for this at any point soon, but it's a case we know now it's been a bit more time before we see any of us getting any focus of footage, but I'll give some hope that this film will turn into something very entertaining and may appeal in a possible quiet period for this release, and hopefully will be another great film of the man-made monsters like the other film that Del Toro was making for Netflix this November, but we can also see about that in due time, and hopefully we'll get some footage soon enough. The last of the release date changes is the only known animated film that Warner Bros. Currently has in their pipeline. We'll see if it survives, and that is with their own new take on a Dr. Seuss story, as we got word that the planned 3D animated film take on The Cat in the Hat is getting a slight release change as well, of being moved up by 1 week from March 6 next year to February 27th. And most of the film I have not heard much about besides the case that Bill Hader is voicing the cat. I do hope that it will have its more faithful take on the book and not overly messy or missing the point of the original adaptations, similar to the case of like the marketing for the Lorax or something, but I can guess we can see close to release when we get some new looks of the actual film in motion and see what the plot will focus on, and it could be either a faithful adaptation that's well liked, one that ends up being a mess of pop culture, or even the uncanny valley nature of the iconic comedy of the 2003 live-action film with Mike Myers, but I guess we can find out in due time with that one as well. And our last story that I've heard for this week is the announcement of a new project based on a story from the internet. So there's a bit of a concern here. As was discussed earlier this week, that actress Sydney Sweeney is producing and starring in a true story short story film known as I Pretended to Be a Missing Girl that was posted on Reddit around 4 years ago, about a woman named Abby who pretended to be a missing girl named Michaela Murray, who suddenly disappeared on the night of her 18th birthday and decided to pretend to be the missing girl in order to have a home and possibly rob them or something like that, I think. I've read a little bit of the story myself, and I'll probably link it down below before writing this, and it gives up a vibe that is going to have a bit of a con girl type narrative to it all. I feel it could have an interesting outcome to the narrative and overall story, and hopefully it'll be more of a Zola-like outcome story rather than a retelling of like a Dear David type story. But I guess we can find a due time by the project itself when it starts production and probably release in the next year or two, but we can see. But with all of them, I would like to know your thoughts about this release date changes. Do you see a new Saw movie happening or being cancelled there? And are you looking for any of these new release date changes? And we'll be checking this new story based on a Reddit thread. Let me know your thoughts down below and we can talk about them there as well. You know the drill. And our final little story is just going to be a little bit of a quick announcement for this week. But this final story, we're going to give a quick announcement from this week. And this is in relation to the event that another year away, but in the case of back on Monday, it was announced that Conan O'Brien has been announced to be hosting next year's Oscars after a successful award show just a few weeks ago. And personally, I think it's a top choice. He does have a lot of charm and can really make a show representing look easy and entertaining, so I feel it's another good approach for another Oscars award show with him at the helm, and I'm intrigued to see what will come from the nominations for next year and what jokes and comedy will come along with it, so I'll give hope with this. But I want to know your thoughts on this as well. Are you happy with Conan hosting the Oscars for another year, and who would you choose as the host instead for next Oscars? And let me know what your thoughts are down below about the stories that we discussed about them there. And with all of that, that's all the news stories that we have for this week.
I'm just a man with a blade on a crusade.
And with all of that now, that ends episode 96 of Weird Mind Newsroom, and I do hope you enjoyed listening to my ramblings. I hope it makes sense. I don't know. I'm here, there, and everywhere lately. I just don't know. But let's try and keep this brief in the conclusion. I keep saying that instead of being like quite a lengthy one. So let's just kind of fly for this case. Right. Reviews. So a case instance, I haven't really focused on reviews yet. I just been in and out of a place right now, so I'm probably gonna try and get something started this week. Maybe the Last of Us review to try and get it done by, let's say, like about 3 weeks to the season 2 premiere. So hopefully by then, I'll try and get it by mid-April. But we can see by then. Hopefully it will work out, but we can see. Other ones I'm going to do case of some reward season ones and the other stuff like Sonic, and I have another one I can throw on the list there. I did watch the Moana sequel this week because it came on Disney Plus there last week. It's not bad. Like, I could definitely see a case like it feels like a TV show, but it's alright. It's entertaining enough. I'll probably give a case Mufasa next week when it comes out and some other stuff, so look forward to them cases and other reviews coming along, long, short, modest review sections and other rambles when I'm focused on, as well as getting some insights and opinions from some films from some people who they want to get their thoughts on stuff like maybe like The Substance or Better Man or kind of things. So there's a few ones I need to get in contact with people when I can. In the case with some gameplay stuff, so I've uploaded the third part of Mario Wonder, which finishes World 2. I'll try and record some more stuff in the next couple of days. I'm currently in the case instance I've been doing a vote for PS5 titles or PS4 and 5, trying to decide what it's down to. At the moment, I think I had a score there where I think the final 4 came down to Alan Wake Remastered, the first Spider-Man for 2018, Shadow of the Colossus, and Star Wars Outlaws. So you can vote below then the case, but I think it might be down to Outlaws and Spider-Man. I think Shadow might also got there as well, I have to say. But you can vote below which game I should play next, or hopefully by the start of next week I shall have a final score on what the game will be. Then as the case for other case of the gameplays like Mario Wonder and Cyberpunk will come as well, so keep an eye on them and other things. And then in case of long form stuff, so the rewatch-a-thon is going to come along as well. The AI video is still happening. I'm still going to get around to it at some point. Just want to focus on trying to like structure it properly because I don't want to go overly too long on it, but also in case I want to give a lot of detail and focus into it and get some insight from people as the person that chose the audience choice thing. So again, that case, as well as the case, Horror Most Board might come next week. I don't know yet. I'm just not right now. It's everywhere, but they're all coming, so look forward to them. But I think I'll leave it there for now in that regards. I think I've talked on long enough. So if you enjoy my content and want to see more from me more frequently, then simply like and subscribe, because I upload new stuff every single week. And maybe in case my hopeful goal by the second anniversary for my channel is maybe 500 subs, but we can see. Like even it gets close to even like 400 would be great or something. I don't know. We'll see over time. It's kind of a case instance. Just I appreciate, even if you don't sub and just watch your stuff or just kind of like see my channel, just appreciate the effort I put into it. I appreciate it. Like, I can understand it's not for everyone. I'm not the most appealing thing, I'm not the most entertaining, but I try. Let me know your thoughts as well about everything that was discussed this week from like the new releases. If you've seen any of them, what your thoughts on them are, your opinions on the trailers, and your thoughts about the news stories. Love to hear all down below and give your thoughts and opinions on them as well. Like, we'll start a conversation and start a wholesome community in that regards. But I think I'll leave it there for now. So as always, you all stay being wonderful people and have a great day every day, doing many great things, and of course to keeping you, because no one else could do what you do, and have a great day every day. Now, I've been your host, Sam, and I shall see you all in the next video. So take care. No, see you later.